Well, these are the hymns that you're going to see now for a Sunday service. And you'll notice the important piece here is that you've got the hymn number, the name of the hymn, the tune, and the number of verses. What we're going to do is we're going to follow this process through from here, through getting the music from small church music, then checking that we've got the correct number of verses, and eventually putting together the completed video. So go to small church music and select the hymn book Singing the Faith, and come down and select our hymn, and we'll notice that the tune is Lydia, which is correct, and we're going to take the organ, but you'll notice it's only 4 verses. So let's grab that audio. Right, you see it automatically starts playing, and you just hit on the dots and download it. So when you've got it down onto your machine, it'll go into your download directory, and we want to pick it up from there and edit it. So it just opened up the download directory. We're going to copy that file now, and then we're going to go to the directory where we've got all our gubbins for this particular service. And we're going to paste the MP3 file there. Okay, so we're using small church music, and that is of course all free to use rights wise, so there's no problems with that. Again, we just check that it is 6 verses that we're looking for, and we're going to open our software by right clicking it, and we're going to choose Audacity. So that's our MP3 track that we just downloaded. We're going to open that with Audacity. And there we see our waveform. So let's use all our screen. We've paid for it, so we might as well use it. And what we can see here is the intro, the first verse, second verse, third verse, and fourth verse. The gaps that you can see in between the verses are really, really helpful to get you aligning your words with the music. So we're going to use that. It's also very, very helpful when you think that we have got to take these 4 verses and turn them into 6. Now the last verse will always have a big ending on it, and so we don't want to copy that, but we can copy the 2 center verses, and using those we can clone those and then create our 6 verses from 4. So the first verse we leave as is, and the last 2, the middle 2 we copy to create 4. So we're just zooming in a bit so we can make ourselves a little bit more accurate, because we want to just go right at that quiet point in between the 2, the verse before and the verse after, and we're just going to select that by holding down the left mouse button at the quiet point. That's 1 verse, that's 2 verses, just get it about right. And we're going to do a Control and C to copy it, and then we're going to select exactly where we want it, a little bit fiddly maybe, and if you're getting it too close it'll stick to where it was, so you can take it, click somewhere just away and put it back, and then just do a Control and V to paste that in. So now you can see we have a 6 verse version of that hymn. So exactly what we need. Exactly what we need. So one of the things we can actually consider now is whether we're going to normalise this piece of music. And in order to do that, what you would do is select it all, and which is Control A, and then come down to the Normalise option. Now, that defaults to -3 dB. What we're going to do is you'll see if we set that, it will then compress that down, and there you go to a much smaller waveform, much quieter. So we're going to go for 0 dB, which is as far as we can go without running out of electricity in our signal, so it's causing clipping and damage to the signal. So there we go, all set up. And now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to come on, Dave, get on with it. Get on with it. We're going to export it. We need to export the file as an MP3. So go to File, Save as MP3, and then we're going to make sure we're in the right directory. Adjust the file name if we need to. And just get a right directory. You can use the quicks there at the top, and that will give you a list of the directories you've recently been in if you're in Windows 10. Different operating systems, different little facets around that place. So we're going to save that file, and that's going to come and confirm the metadata. So the metadata is embedded in the MP3 file, and I'm not really going to bother doing anything this. I might, if I was really wanting to, say it's the 6th version, and we'll just go and get to exporting that MP3 file. Okay, and that is all we need to do with Audacity. We've now got our 6-verse version of the hymn. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to bring up our PowerShell. Now our PowerShell we've created with the words for each verse, 1 page per verse, and we've got it on the background. Makes it look like we're a little bit a nice posh background. So what we're going to do is we're going to export this by doing a save as, and then we're going to go for the PNG. And what that does, as long as we select all, is it creates a subfolder underneath the root of where the data is, and in that subfolder it creates a PNG for each of the pictures or the slides, which is great. So let's open our video editor. Now this is an open source video editor, and we go into this, and the first thing we do is we select our profile, which we want 1080p 23.98. Close that, and now we can go in and we can edit our pictures for each of the PowerPoint frames and our audio. So that's the subdirectory being created by our PowerPoint export to PNG, and that's our slides, which are each individual verse of the hymn. Now, when you import these, it asks you whether you want to put them as a sequence. You don't. You must select no to that. And then go back and add again to add the audio. Now, if they were in the same directory, you could just select them all and add them all as a one. So select our audio file and open it. And there we go. So we're going to drag the audio file down onto one of the tracks. Doesn't really matter which one. And the next thing we're going to do, because it's important to see this, is to right click it and then set it so we can see the waveform. Now, all we need to do is line up the images with the verses. Now you can see with the waveform, you've got third, fourth, fifth and sixth verses. You've got an intro at the beginning. So we'll grab the first of our files and we'll get that roughly about where we want it. And we're just going to zoom in a little bit. I'm going to trim that up so it finishes when you stop the singing. Okay, and then we're going to grab the second file. We're going to put that down directly behind it so it butts up against it. And then we're going to expand that along to do the second verse. And then we're going to carry on that process. You'll notice, of course, it keeps jumping back to the beginning of the video, which is unhelpful, but never mind. Just one of those things. You can actually just click along the timeline to prevent this, but the timeline is the piece at the bottom which I'm working with at the moment. Starting at the left at the beginning of the video and moving towards the right towards the end of the video. And just finishing off, putting the last piece in, and there we go. So all we need to do now is to export it. We'll save the project as well first. So we'll go into here and you'll notice it goes to the same place every time. So you've got to then select your way back, navigate your way back to where you want to save it. Let's try this again. And paste it in again, and it's eventually saved. So now that has saved our project, and the next thing we want to do is create our video file. So clicking on the red button and checking that it's going to put it in the correct directory, and then we just hit the go button. And off it goes, creating our video. And this really is as difficult as it gets. So what this will do is it will create a video that you can then play during the service with its words and the hymn, and has the background which you choose. I've gone for one that represents the 3 churches in Saddleworth, 3 Methodist churches in Saddleworth at least. And this is all using free software apart from PowerPoint. Now, if you don't have PowerPoint, you could use OpenOffice, which I'm sure will do a very similar thing, or any graphics piece of software that you can put a text over an image, so you can put the words out onto a page, which you can create to be the size of HD, 1920 by 1080p. And there we go. Job's a good one.